Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back, and today we're going to do One Piece chapter 1070 review. Let's get into it. The title of this chapter, The Strongest Form of Humanity. Let's start off with the cover page. Promising scientists brought together for the sake of mankind and the world. It was cool to see the designs of Caesar, Judge, and Queen when they were younger, and it's funny to see that Queen actually looks cool when he was younger, right? A skinny Queen actually would definitely have more people talking to him. And it's interesting to see that Sanji and his dad both had something in common, as they would dress up in suits. So maybe Sanji low-key got that from his dad. And we also don't know who that woman on the right is, and a lot of people were guessing that it is Stussy, and that would also explain a lot why Stussy knows so much about Egghead Island, as well as other scientific discoveries. And what this cover page kind of brings into question here is, why were they brought together for the sake of humanity? And my guess would be here is that they were developing some kind of technology to go against pirates. So the world government has been working on this technology for the Seraphim and Pacifistas for a very, very long time. And maybe this origin story of the Mads group is where the Pacifistas were first created, and then this later developed into Vegapunk creating the Seraphim. Now getting into the chapter, Rob Lucci and Luffy are still fighting, and Luffy actually apologizes to Sentomaru. He's just like, oh dude, sorry I distracted you. And Sentomaru actually gives us a little insight here. He's like, yo dude, I actually blocked the attack, but Rob Lucci's haki is clearly way stronger and went right through his haki. So Rob Lucci definitely has some kind of haki ability above Rio, as we know that Sentomaru has used Rio in the past. And it was funny to see how Luffy's white whip technique, or Dawn whip, was actually unstoppable, as he couldn't even stop himself and he just drills right into the ground, Looney Tunes style. We also get to see the Seraphim all working together, and they're easily taking out these fodder CP0 agents. This leads to Frankie actually asking about Senior Pink and asking if Senior Pink is dead, and kind of the question that we were all thinking about. And it actually turns out that Senior Pink is alive and well in Impel Down. And so if Senior Pink isn't dead, how did Vegapunk replicate these devil fruits? And Vegapunk says here, it has only been possible to manufacture Zoan devil fruits. And he continues to say that with unlimited resources, he would potentially be able to replicate all Zoan devil fruits, even the special type Zoan devil fruits, such as mythical Zoans like he did with Kaido's. However, he also states that he's unsure if these synthetic Zoan devil fruits can awaken. Vegapunk also quickly references Logia devil fruits and how they have been trickier to solve, and he has not solved them just yet. And this was brought to my attention by Sawyer7 Mage, another One Piece YouTuber. Definitely check him out. And what he was talking about was the infinite power source, and how these Logia devil fruits are somehow able to infinitely produce whatever substance or resource that is the source of their power, right? For Ace, he was able to infinitely produce fire, and it was the same with Blackbeard, where he was able to produce an infinite black hole where no light was able to escape. A lot of Logia devil fruits have to do with unlimited and infinite resources, and this is definitely in connection with the infinite power source that was powering that giant mech suit, as well as the eternal flame. And I believe all of these are connected in some way here. So maybe the source of these Logia devil fruit powers is this infinite energy source that they all tap into. And finally, getting to the Paramecia types, Vegapunk says that he is able to replicate these using the user's bloodline elements. And once you synthesize and administer this blood, it grants that person the user's abilities. And Vegapunk strangely called this green blood. So this led me into a little rabbit hole and researched a little bit more into green blood. And in the real world, green blood is called sulfahemoglobinemia. This is where sulfur binds to a hemoglobin atom irreversibly. So how is this related to the One Piece world? Going back to the Skypiea arc, there is a mineral called Kairoseki, and within that material, it contains a substance called pyrobloin. Pyrobloin is a molecular substance that gets ejected into the air by volcanic eruptions. When it comes into contact with water in the air, sea clouds and island clouds are created. And something interesting about pyrobloin, it is also a key material in creating sea stone, as well as in the poneglyphs. So somehow this pyrobloin, using a devil fruit user's DNA, this can bind to the user's blood, thus creating green blood, just like in real life. So Honestly, I underestimated how detailed and how intense Oda's scientific knowledge is, and clearly here, Oda is actually applying real science, and this is pretty awesome. This brought up a question in my head about the Seraphim. So what happens when they lose this green blood? Do they just lose their devil fruit abilities? And it was interesting that this green blood is actually exposed on the Boa Hancock Seraphim. So I was wondering if, let's say she gets slashed in that area and starts losing this green blood, does her power just leave with it? Or is she able to produce her own green blood internally once this binds with her blood itself? And something to mention here, it was honestly really weird that the Marines fell to Boa Hancock's power as she's a little kid. So that ended up just being weird, and I was even questioning that previously, that would this power be as effective? And clearly, at least against the Marines, is pretty effective. So that was a little strange. After that, we just continue the Rob Lucci and Luffy fight, and Luffy is going all out in Gear 5th, and we're just seeing his crazy forms as he's able to just pop out of the ground and start shooting rocks at Lucci, and he even ends up bending a steel beam like a slingshot and slings himself towards Rob Lucci. Now it might be a normal occurrence within Luffy's fights. He's able to synthesize these goggles, and he just goes boom, pops these goggles out of nowhere, puts them on, and flings himself towards Rob Lucci and uses the Dawn Rocket, and boom, nails Rob Lucci. And we can see that crazy effect like how we saw with Kaido, where Luffy's punch is able to kind of go through Rob Lucci's body and kind of stretch out his body with the attack. And it was also cool to see how Luffy was mixing both his Gum Gum techniques along with his new White or Dawn techniques with his Awakened techniques. It's also interesting that Luffy had the same side effect as before, where he turns old after using Gear 5th, but his recovery seems to be very, very fast, as the vacuum rocket only took 32 seconds to go up to the lab, and from when they're in the rocket to when they end up in the lab, Luffy is already recovered and back to normal. So it seems like this side effect doesn't last that long at all. And once they get to the lab, we get a quick panel of Sentomaru basically out, and it seems that Sentomaru is dead. I don't know if he's actually dead, but it appears that CP0 believes that he's dead. And we move back to the crew, and the crew finds out that Vegapunk is traveling with them from now on. And it's good that Sanji mentions here that they're actually still attached to the ground, even though they are now clear and cool with Vegapunk. So I wonder how this is going to come in play. Is someone going to still flip on them and turn on them, and is Vegapunk going to turn on them? And moving on, Bonnie still wants to kill Vegapunk as he basically ignored any of her questions about Kuma, and I'm hoping that while they have this little time in the lab, they'll hopefully get to this Kuma question again. Now that Sentomaru is dead, it appears that the Seraphim are now under CP0's control, and not only that, Kizaru has found out that the Straw Hats are teaming up with Vegapunk, and he actually requests all battleships to start heading towards Egghead, or at least any available battleships. So not even just one, he wants every single battleship available. Kizaru also mentions that even though it seems like Vegapunk is primed to escape, it won't be that easy. So this is going to be actually a crazy fight, as we still have G14 nearby, as we can't forget, and who knows if we're going to need to call upon the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. This was absolutely a wild chapter. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. And that's all I got for you. Peace.